you know, if you buy a frame made in a factory or a frame you get from most picture framers, you know, everything's very sharp and angular. Whereas because we're making a handmade, or sometimes called a closed corner frame, you know, we can just round things off and just make it all a bit softer. So you do all that work. Any stock removal really you do with the 180, and then when you're happy with that, get going with the 320. And when you finish with that frame, we're going to move on to the frame that's in the bowl, and we're just going to give that a really light going over with the 400. Okay, so we want to keep this quite short because we're a little bit behind schedule. So, now one thing you've all got in your kit, you've all got just a decorator's brush, and the purpose of that is just dusting off. So once you're happy, just give it all a bit of a dust. Okay, then as I say, we're just going to, while we're sanding, we're just going to go on with the 400 and give the red frame, the one in the bowl, just a really light going over. And this is the key. This is, now, I want to just talk about this a little bit. So this is the simple studio frame, and we've done this to the next stage after the gesso, is we put the bowl on here. So this is pretty much ready to lay the leaf on. But you want to lay your leaf on bowl that is quite fresh. So although actually these have only been done within the last couple of days, I would always put one more coat on just to be sure, even if it's already got, because we'll be putting, when we're starting from scratch, we'll be putting several coats of bowl on. So we're going to put one more coat. So this is really should be perfect by this stage. So this going over, just with the 400, which is our finest paper, we're not looking to go through this bowl, we're just looking to get this, you know, give it a little bit of a key and just take any little bits of grit or imperfection off. But this is really light. Now even so, I'm going through in little bits there. I'm going through to gesso, which will be covering over. But it really is just a really light going over on there.
Why is it called bowl?
No idea. French, I think. B-O-L-E. B-O-L-E. And it's clay. It's natural clay. That's what it is. But as I understand, all pigments are just minerals. Well, that's not true, because then there's other people and stuff. But I mean, it's a mineral pigment, you know, it comes in the form of clay. I always use a wet one. I've never tried the dry. I think I've got some in this stuff I inherited. So, I mean, we'll be looking at all this later, but I believe that is, I mean...
That is clay.
It's a colour term. It derives from Latin bolus, or dirt, and refers to a kind of soft fine clay whose reddish-brown varieties are used as pigments, and as a coating and panel paintings and frames underneath the painted gold leaf. What is single?
Okay, So we're all up to speed there? All happy? I mean, I think it's important that we remember that we're not here to produce the perfect frames, you know. You'll do that with the ones you're going to take home and can spend hours and hours doing, but we're here to learn the techniques. So, okay, now there is a part of the process which, again, we're going to spend very little time on. I've allocated, we're slightly behind schedule, not too bad actually. I've allocated 10 minutes for this, so it's just enough to get a feel for it. But this is called water polishing. Now, when we go out for coffee, we'll look at some of the work I've put out in the little gallery outside, and I've borrowed a couple of things, a couple of which were done in our workshops, there's a